Just letting you know, this is only my spoiler first impressions of the episode. Check my pinned comment for a free gift related to this video. And to watch my unfiltered reactions with exclusive bonuses, join my Ashamoji TV club. The link is in the description box below. Now, here's my afterthoughts of this episode of Supernatural.
But before you skip on over, I want to reveal something that I really think you should know. You don't need to know, but I think you should know. Well, then again, no, I think you need to know if I want to keep transparency between me as a reactor and you as my viewer, okay? So if you are a club member and you haven't caught up to my recent reactions to Season 9, listen up, this message is for you. And if you are a YouTube subscriber, hopefully, or a viewer and you're not part of my club, then you don't know the particular details that I'm going to relay in short, okay? In short, because I don't have too much time to waste in this video about it. I just want to kind of get to the point. So what is my point? My point is, if you did watch my reaction to episode 18 and you paid particular close attention to the first minute and a half of my reaction to that episode, to Metatron, typing away at a desk, very similar to another character, let's just say at that point in time, it's an understatement to say that a light bulb really went off. And at the end of the episode, I fed into my very strong desire to feed my suspicion. Okay, it was at a boiling point. And I kept the cameras rolling. My club members watched along as I went and checked out details from another episode in Season 5. And came to the conclusion of who I thought to be God. Or who I think is supposed to be God in a past tense, but it's confirmed overall now. For me, I know who God is supposed to be in this series. I know who the character is, okay? So, I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty of all that. And I want to reassure you, no one in particular, directly spoiled it. And on one end of feedback, it's not a spoiler because there were so many very obvious clues, especially the last 5 seconds the last 5, actually a minute or so of episode 22 of the 5th season was quite clear there. But on the other hand, there's understandably some people not really happy with the fact that I self-spoiled looking into things and not suppressing a suspicion that I just couldn't suppress. And so instead of pretending, oh my God, that's who God is, in the next upcoming reaction to whatever episode that character shows up in again, because I don't know when he'll come back, so I'll touch on that in a second. So instead of pretending that, I'm being transparent with you that is one spoiler of the series that, thankfully, I self-spoiled. Okay? And I did have a few people who were quite surprised. It wasn't spoiled a lot earlier on, considering that the show has wrapped and there's so much stuff out there. And I have mentioned before that some thumbnails have spoiled me on certain things, but thankfully I've dodged those thumbnails and I hope to dodge some more. Okay, so I'm letting you know that if that is something you are looking forward to seeing me have this big reaction to, or maybe small reaction, because sometimes some things don't land on me the way you expect or I expect, okay? I just want you to know that I won't be surprised, but I will be surprised as to when God comes back, because apparently he does, and under what circumstance. So for me, I'm taking that as the positive moving forward, that the how and the when and the way they play it out, is it the last episode of the season or of the series? Or is it somewhere beforehand? I don't know. Obviously, not to confirm or deny that. But that in and of itself is its own surprise for me that I hope you can enjoy my reaction to when that time comes, okay? So, like I said, if you want extra details about that, you're welcome to join my club. Details about doing that is in the description box below, where you'll see extra stuff that I share only with club members. But if you're just cool with the way things are, to episode 19, here it is. All right, episode 19 down. Very surprising. I'm debating in my mind how much to kind of go into in terms of commentary, because there's a lot of stuff going on that I'm interpreting anyway. And, something I like about well-written episodes is that, in my opinion anyway, is that there's so many different ways you could look at it. On the surface, for viewers who just want to see non-stop action and, pow pow, pew pew, special effects, Castiel, this could be an episode where you're just like, it's boring, because there's none of that. I'm not on that train of thought at all. It's complete opposite. Based on what I've interpreted in terms of subtext and also extra stuff that I like how they've layered in a very direct and smooth way with Dean to still add in the Winchester drama, I'll touch on that in a moment. So in terms of a scene, just gonna keep things open here. I had in mind the scene, where the mom is admitting that she lost her little girl and ended up abducting one as a substitute, and Jody more or less putting a spotlight on the situation and them having this conflicting understanding of that maternal bond of mother and child and the loss and the grief that they both dealt with very differently. That scene was very profound. Now, obviously, it doesn't add to the bigger picture when it comes to the series, which then, of course, leads to the scene that does fit that when it comes to my criteria of picking scenes, right? And that's Dean, of course, at the end when he kills the vampire. And it's not necessarily the kill part, it's when he overpowers the vampire, to the vampire's surprise. And then he just straight up beheads him with this very cold steel confidence and, as he kind of puts it, pleasure in ending that creature's life. Now, when it comes to the back and forth debate, monsters bad, humans good, and it's been touch and go, and depending on, of course, the writing team, I think at this point, well, more or less, I thought by this point there would have been more of a consensus that the benefit of the doubt with monsters needs to still be something to factor in, especially his best friend that he, kind of put off into a send-off to purgatory, Dean's best friend, Benny, right? We just recently had that in season 8. So it's just kind of like, I guess you can chalk it up to the fact that he is so infused with the Cain energy that is overlooked in a sense. I'm probably not verbalizing it the way I'm actually thinking it, which happens quite often, but sometimes it does kind of get me to roll my eyes because I'm just like, okay, where do you stand on this issue? It's either we give monsters the benefit of the doubt or we don't. Like, where's the line? Where's the line? And sometimes I feel the line gets blurred, and then sometimes it's extremely specific. Whatevers. But overall, in terms of subtext that I will try to kind of express just and relate on a personal level with you, because I don't mind sharing this. I've shared this with viewers and club members related to another property when the subject kind of was related to the episode, okay? So in this case, how I've interpreted, and I know there are many things to go into, but I'm just going to go into one, okay? But how I've interpreted when it comes to the girl being abducted at a very young age into a family that had a mentality, aside from being vampires, but a mentality that goes against everything she knows as being normal. I was indoctrinated into a very strict, repressive cult at a very early age. And I remember a time in my late teen years when people outside of that group tried to reach out to me the way Dean and Sam were trying to reach out to her to reason out what's reality versus what is being taught in the reality bubble of this culture. And there's cognitive dissonance that definitely comes into play, which they touched on a bit with her behavior and her defense of the situation. You can't reason with someone when they cannot see for themselves a different reality. And how you know someone is indoctrinated into some form of a, cult in that sense, is when they are completely intolerant of a different opinion, when they won't even entertain debate. And I know for myself, leaving that, which was partially me reaching that point that she kind of reached in the episode, where the feeling that she was getting with the actions she was doing, I really related to that, because no matter what you're trying to leave, if when you come to terms that how you would rather deletion of situations than to ever feel that way again, or to ever be put in that position again, that's a breaking point, right? That's a breaking point. And so I like how they really tried to touch on that. It's a very serious subject, because it like I said, it dabbles into so many other things. I'm very impressed with what they tried to do and revolve it around the story of vampires, and touching on the aspects of motherhood and maternal instinct and all that with Jodie, and grief and loss. I think it was very well done. Seriously. I'm a big believer in giving credit where it's due, especially if you enjoy storytelling. You enjoy good storytelling. I would have a hard time, or more or less put it this way, if you really think this is like such a terrible episode, aside from it being boring, like aside from that easy excuse, break it down. What about this episode is so bad? I really, really would love for you to just comment about that. Not looking to argue you. I just like to see a perspective that would allow me to see, okay, how someone else could view this episode legitimately for it being a bad episode. Okay? and don't worry, I understand if for some viewers, if the trio isn't in it, they don't care for it. And it's just plain and simple, and I respect that. I respect that. Okay, so in terms of Ashamoji, because I actually genuinely enjoy this episode, but it isn't that type that is, on instant replay, but for a story to see for the first time for what they were trying to deliver in terms of depth of subtext and narrative, and to progress character arcing, to progress the character of Jodie, right? Seeing now where we started with her, meeting her when she was fighting zombies and had to have her husband, see her husband die and her child die, and then seeing now the progression of her learning to be a better hunter through Sam and Dean, and coming to terms with her grief. All of that was the lines really well performed, as well as really well written, in my opinion. So if it wasn't for the fact that it's not necessarily an episode I would care really too much right away, to press replay on, I would have maybe given it a 5 Ashamoji. So I'm not going to, just because that factor is missing. And I think what could have prevented that factor from being missed is if maybe one extra scene more focused on Sam and Dean in some dramatic action. Maybe if that was kind of peppered in, I was going to say, but maybe just included with a little bit more with Sam and Dean, perhaps I would stretch it to say, okay, I would rewatch it to see that scene because it's so cool, kind of thing. Maybe, I don't know. I might change my mind later. But right now, I think it deserves 4 Ashamojis. I think it's a great episode, and it deserves credit for decent writing and decent performance and character growth. And I'm just glad Jodie's still alive. Listen, people. I said it before, I know. This show kind of... It gets me worried sometimes. It gets me worried. But I think she's a keeper. I mean, this is what, the 3rd or 4th near miss? And I hope that's not going to be it's the joke in and of itself, and then there comes the episode where she actually does bite the dust. Anyway, but I think she's supposed to be... Well, that's what I gather they're building up with her. I don't, I'm not going to predict any further because there's so many seasons left and a lot of things can change with the actor as well. So I can't always just presume it's going to be the writing team that'll be like, oh, let's kill off Jodie today. All right. So there you have it. That is my reaction to episode 19 from the 9th season of Supernatural. Share your comments below. Let me know what you loved about this episode. Let me know what you disliked about it. And perhaps let me know what was your favorite moment. I like stuff like that. And of course, any trivia that you know. And if you want access to my full reaction to this episode with extra stuff included for club members only, details on joining my club is in the description box below, as well as details on how you can support this channel if you're not interested in being a club member, but you do want to help me grow and expand here on YouTube. Nonetheless, until my reaction to episode 20, peace out. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe and check out my other videos.